New research from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control shows that 20% of married couples in this country, 1 in 5, struggle with infertility.
Well, some turn to fertility clinics for help, but in Nashville, a portion of this vulnerable population is being rocked by a brewing scandal at the now defunct Center for Reproductive Health. Earlier this year, hundreds of patients were shocked to learn the clinic abruptly closed without notice. Federal prosecutors are investigating fraud and mismanagement allegations against the clinic's director, Dr. Jaime Vasquez. Now patients are lawyering up and demanding justice.
These women have been waiting for this day in court, a chance to come face to face with the doctor who they say did them wrong.
I feel like I was frauded. I was actually really sick to my stomach that, you're supposed to trust doctors.
Mindy Gayer's biggest regret was putting her trust in the Center for Reproductive Health.
I was told that this was a way that I would be able to birth my own children. And now that this might not even be an option, it's heartbreaking.
Aaron and Gregor Meyer have the same sentiment. They drove back and forth from North Carolina to see Dr. Jaime Vasquez and his staff in hopes of one day becoming parents.
There's a whole lot of horror stories out there in terms of what he's done. I cannot imagine that he would have all this deception.
This complaint outlines the many failures that were unfolding behind the scenes at CRH. Dr. Vasquez's business was crumbling while hundreds of patients were under his care. According to his own lawyer, Dr. Vasquez let his malpractice insurance lapse back in April. Patients airing their grievances, claiming doctors and staff stopped returning their phone calls and emails. Women undergoing intense fertility treatments and self-administering powerful drugs and injectables at home no longer had medical supervision, and those who had genetic material stored in the clinic's lab in cryopreservation tanks could not be sure they were even being monitored. A court-appointed third-party receiver called it pure chaos. And perhaps the most damning thing that's come out in court centers around one employee.
And Dr. Vasquez and his business entities allowed a non-physician to falsely portray himself as a doctor, allowing that person to examine women, allow that person to give medical advice without any qualification to do so.
Ferrer Dyer, one of Dr. Vasquez's top employees, is accused of operating within the clinic under the title of doctor without holding the proper credentials. Fox 17 News could not find any records of Ferrer Dyer registered with the Department of Health.
All 3 of my clients had IUI, which is intrauterine insemination, performed by a man who was not a medical anything. He was not licensed in anything, and they are traumatized.
The state attorney general's office filed an emergency motion to get a court-appointed third party to take over. In August, a judge lifted a stay and ruled that patients can move forward filing individual lawsuits against Dr. Vasquez and the clinic. But there's a problem.
There's zero doubt in my mind that the company assets are insufficient, not only to pay the administrative freight of the cases, but we have no reason to think that there's going to be assets available for distribution to claimants.
Dr. Vasquez told the court he's gone bankrupt. All the money patients spent on services is gone. Tennessee Fertility Institute has stepped in to oversee an audit on the genetic material and will help patients continue care. But many of them say they can't afford to go through another round of treatment.
At this point, he's taken our last 2 chances until we have money back or the embryos back or the embryos back. There isn't a next step for us. There isn't anything we can do at this point.
For Mindy, she's had to unplug from the rest of the world while she grapples with her grief and anger, but mostly she's sad.
And I was going to see all of my friends posting all of their pictures of their kids, and I was like, I'm happy for them, but I'm like, just was emotional for me. I want children, and so I'm happy for all my friends and family that have children, but for me to see it every day, it's hard.
Last month, the Metro District Attorney's Office informed police it would not pursue criminal charges in this case. Patients are now on their own to file civil lawsuits.